Let's see what we've got here in problem 6. It says the rate. So right away I'm thinking derivative. So the rate derivative at which wealth in thousands of dollars of an individual changes each week. So somebody's wealth is changing each week is related to time in weeks since the beginning of a series of investments. Right, so time, t, is in weeks, and it starts, time 0 is at the beginning of some series of investments. And the rate is given by this function here, w of t, w prime of t, right, rate. So what we want to do is interpret the derivative and its integral. You know, it's nice to be able to compute these things, but it's maybe even nicer to know what they mean. So let's make an interpretation of both of these. So first of all, let me at least read this. Well, what this says, and after I read it, I'll interpret it. It says this: when t equals 50, w prime of t equals negative 12.5. So now that's how to read it. Here's what it means. So far we've got this. When the input is 50, the output is negative 12.5, and that tells us the input, remember, is the number of weeks after the beginning of a series of investments. So we're at 50. So 50 weeks after the beginning of a series of investments. So let's follow along here. So we have 50 weeks after the beginning of a series of investments. All right, what does this tell us here? It says this: the individual's wealth, that's what W is, the individual's wealth is decreasing because we're talking about a derivative, and it's negative. The individual's wealth is decreasing at a rate of 12.5, now this is all in thousands, of $12,500 per week. So 50 weeks after the beginning of a series of investments, this individual's wealth is decreasing at a rate of $12,500 per week. And the second part says this: W of 50 equals 855. And, you know, we know what that means. We could say this: when t equals 50, W of t equals 855. And that's how to read it. But here's what it means. We'll start it just like we started the last one here, but we'll say, right, when the input is 50, that's the number of weeks since the beginning of the investment. So 50 weeks after the beginning of a series of investments, what's happening? Well, what is W? Well, W is the antiderivative of this rate function over here. So this is the total, right? When you differentiate, you get the total. So this is the accumulated wealth. So the total wealth is 855,000. Let's write it. So we'll say 50 weeks after the beginning of a series of investments, the individual's total is the integral, wealth is 855,000. Or we might say this, 50 weeks after the beginning of investment, the individual's accumulated wealth. Sometimes it's convenient to read an integral as an accumulator because it just adds things up for us.